All right, welcome everyone to Scale Labs, where we sit down with real business owners, uncover their bottlenecks holding them back, and build a practical 30-day growth plan. Today's guest is Zay Alexander, founder of Zayez Image. Did I get that right?
Zay's Image.
Zay's Image. All right, I'm sorry. So
No,
great.
it's okay.
Good thing you're here to correct me. But you're a beauty and cosmetic brand based in Houston, Texas, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, and you guys been building your business for over 5 years, and you mentioned that you won a couple of awards. You want to talk about those real quick?
So I recently just got 50 under 50 global, which is a I think it was a business entrepreneur cornership. They actually found me, and pretty much I guess they loved what was up with my business. That means that I'm pretty much a 50 continents under the age of 50, which means it's like I'm 25 and I started my business before 50 out of the whole, 50 image.
There
So
you
I
go.
was like, okay, I'm getting recognized.
There you go. Awesome. Well,
Yes.
like many entrepreneurs, growth creates new challenges, right? And as you grow, you start learning things that maybe you didn't know before. But today we're going to dive into your story and we're going to learn what's working, what's not. And hopefully at the end we're going to be able to build a plan to help you grow even better. Does it sound like a good idea to you?
Yes, of course.
Alrighty. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about kind of your background a little bit, and then transition up to that into your business.
Okay. Well, I'm from San Antonio, Texas, but I grew up in Louisiana. I'm 25 years old. They call me the multi CEO because I have multiple businesses. So not only do I do cosmetics, but I also do graphic design. I also have a nonprofit organization, which is the Alexander Johnson Foundation, which you guys could actually find on my OG page, the Alex. But a little bit about my background. I was also in the military. I was in for 7 years in the Army. I was a 91 Bravo, if you guys know, and also a 92 Yankee, which was supply. Getting into me doing my business, which was Zay's Image, currently my cosmetic brand. I started them around not May, March of 2018. I founded later on in 2022. How I started Zay's Image was there wasn't a lot of products or cosmetics for women who have skin diseases or I have psoriasis, so it was kind of hard to find products that didn't have a lot of chemicals or alcohol or anything that would flare up our skin because psoriasis predominantly falls around. You have to be very sensitive with scents and sprays and all that stuff. Um, so I used to get really bad flare ups just wearing makeup alone. And one day I was like, I think it's time for me to start, my own brand. So I started looking into lip kits because I'm a lip girly. So started looking into those, and around October 2022, which when I kind of pushed out lip kits, I was kind of scared. So I was like, okay, I don't know if this is gonna work or not. But by the time it was around the next day, we sold out of those lip kits, and some of my OG customers still have those lip kits, and that was 4 years ago. So after that, then we started looking into lashes. We started branding into eyeshadow and duo palettes and stuff like that, and it got a lot of recognition because of how the product lasts. The durability of it, and on top of it, it worked for a lot of women who have skin conditions or skin diseases. Um, Also, we're working on our summer collection, Blazing, which is coming out July 2nd. So you guys stay tuned for that. So
There you
yeah.
go. Awesome. So got a couple questions for you. After
Okay.
you filling out the onboarding form, um,
Mhm.
what was it like getting your first customer?
I was excited. I first, like I said, I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. I just kind of pushed it out there, and I was like, okay, let's see what happens. But when I got my first customer, my first order, and people were loving my product, I was like, okay, like I'm doing something because the amount of people that actually come back, my clients that come back after, and like I said, they've been with me when I started my first like lip kit, and they
Hmm.
still have that. They're like, okay, I need that. What else do you have? So just to have that kind of like durability and like that, support system, like it's really good.
Awesome. So, what was the original vision for your business? You mentioned that you rolled out the lip kits and stuff. But what was the original vision after you started? You're like, okay, this is where it should go.
So the original vision, actually, fun fact, with the name Zay's Image was not intended to be with the cosmetic brand. It was actually supposed to be for my graphic design business, which I still have. I just swapped it to, something else. But when it started branding out to what it was, I was like, okay, like now I wanted to be in stores, and I started talking to a lot of small business owners, a lot of boutiques, and they started producing my product as well. So I have a couple stores in San Antonio, Texas. I have a couple stores in Houston, Texas. I have one in Atlanta, Georgia, and then I also have another one in California. So they started like, okay, I love your product. Like I want it in my stores. I'm like, okay.
Hey, there
So
you go.
once I kind of started that chain with one when I started in El Paso. When I was stationed in Fort Bliss. When I was in El
I'm
Paso, and I was
sorry.
like, okay, yeah, I know. So when I had tried that, and I was like, okay, let me see where this goes. And when I had more exposure, then that's when more business owners and more companies are like, hey, like you have a cosmetic brand, I want your product in my store. And I was like, okay, let's do this.
Awesome. So, what accomplishment are you most proud of so far?
Ooh, I
That's
have
a
quite a
tough one.
few, so that is a tough one. I think my biggest accomplishment that I have, ah, I don't know. This is a hard one because I have like quite a few.
And we're just getting started. There's going to be harder
I
questions down
know,
the road.
I know. I think I would say currently just being recognized global. I didn't think it
Okay.
would go that far, and for it to be recognized at 50 under 50 Women's Foundation, like that's pretty big.
Oh
So
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
that's awesome though. Like a lot of people, it takes a long time for them to get the awards like that. So
Mm-hmm.
you're hitting something right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I got
Yeah.
another hard question for you. Some maybe, but what keeps you motivated after 5 years in business or longer?
Um, I like consistency, and on top of that, I my biggest motivation is because I want to retire by 33. I want to be
Okay.
my own. Granted, I'm my own, self-employer, but at the same time, it's like I want to be where I can just look at my phone, turn around, go back to sleep. I'm like, okay, like I'm accomplished. I'm done. Like I
What
kind of
what does
gave that torch
retirement
to
look
somebody
like
else.
for you?
Oh, me? Oh, I'm traveling everywhere.
There you
Retirement is
go.
me on a boat, me somewhere like that. To me, I feel like that's an accomplishment of okay, like I did it. Like I did that part. I kind of passed that torch to everybody else that is around the circle and can do it for me, and I don't have to be wearing all the hats. Like I
There
kind
you
of
go.
delegated that to somebody.
That's awesome. No, that's a good goal. That's a good thing to keep you motivated. And it gets
Yeah.
harder and harder the closer you get to that age, right? You're worried about it.
Yes. Yes.
How did you build your ambassador team?
I started doing ads. So at
Okay.
first I had a couple people that I was around that were interested in makeup and they love makeup, and I was like, okay, like you think you could promote my product? And I'm like, okay. After that, then I started branching out more, and I started kind of putting it on Facebook, Instagram, and I was, like we're looking for ambassadors, and I just did the same thing here recently. So I had to expand not only from the U.S. but now we're going global. Like I had people from the Philippines, Thailand, Nigeria, Japan. I was like, okay. And when I see Japan, I did it. I did it. So
I won.
yeah.
That's
So we had
awesome.
over like 600 plus ambassador inquiries, and we're still going through them. So it's a lot. But that's kind of how I open it up. And at first, my team was only like 12. So we went from 12 to now we're sitting at like 60, and now we've had over 600 plus inquiries. So I'm like, oh, like, that's a lot.
That's
Hmm.
awesome. A lot of people don't get there, and a lot of people try the ambassadors or the influencers, and it just doesn't work. So how do you manage that many people though?
Managing wise, I kind of have a system. And
Okay.
what I did was I kind of split everybody out because I travel. So
Hmm.
what I would do is like, for my Houston ambassadors, like we'll go out and, we'll do pop-ups and we'll promote, or we'll kind of do something intertwined with my nonprofit organization and stuff like that. And then same thing with San Antonio, and then same thing with Georgia. So it was kind of like, that's kind of how I keep it, um, maneuvered, and it
Hmm.
also fluctuates at the same time. Now, overseas, that's going to be a different ball game. So I'm probably going to have, a little team for that.
You're gonna have to get a private jet and just fly everywhere, right?
Yes, I think that's what I need.
That's where just take it out on business loan. You'll be all right. No,
Hmm.
don't do that. But
Get a grant. It's okay.
exactly. No, so I mean, you've clearly built something that people connect with, right? If you've got
Hmm.
that many inquiries, that's something you've. A lot of small business owners struggle to find that, and you've got that, and that's the first thing I want to point out is like you've got it. Don't let go of that. That's a
Hmm.
very important thing, right?
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about where the business stands today. So there's going to be a couple questions. We'll go through some questions to really understand where you're at today, where you want to go in the next couple years. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, and the first thing I want to point out is you mentioned you're generating consistent revenue. What does that revenue look like the last 30 to 90 days? What does that kind of look like?
So typically right now, if we're gonna do honest numbers, right now
Yep.
it's kind of like my little dip because we
Okay.
mostly prep for summer and then the holiday season. So
Okay.
this month is kind of like a little downsy.
Okay.
We're
That's
typically
okay.
yeah, no, that's of course. Um, but we're typically we sit during around this time 5 to 10K. So that's kind of like our lowest. I think the lowest we ever hit was probably around 500. Not even gonna
Okay.
lie.
You said between 5 to 10,000 a month.
Yes.
Okay. And where are those coming from? Are they coming from like an online ordering, or is it in the
Um,
stores that you mentioned?
it's a mixture because I also do, like I said, I also do pop ups.
Mm-hmm.
I also get customers one on one. I'll talk to somebody and be like, hey, cool question, like, what is your makeup routine or something like that. It's kind of lure them in, and then they're like, oh my gosh, you have a cosmetic brand, and that's typically how I also get customers too because I talk one on one. I do have an e-commerce, and I also have a TikTok shop, which is Zayez Image, for both tags as well. And also during store sales, so it also those revenues kind of integrate with the 5 to 10K.
Okay. Which one would you say that is the most you're most passionate about? Which revenue stream? From
uh
which essentially which lane?
I would say one on one.
One on one.
One on one, yeah, one on one for me because I get to kind of, you know, encounter with my client, and then on top of that, they know I'm a real person, so definitely they're gonna, buy from my product because I'm showing it to them. It's hands on, like it's in their face, like they get to look at it, use their five senses, and even those customers that I've had till this day, they still buy from me because of one on one. So that's kind of one of the things I'm really like I take for passion with that.
You tell me you don't like to just randomly DM someone and say, "Hey, buy this."
I
It's a
mean, it's
little
kind
weird,
of like,
isn't it?
yeah, but it's like when you get that one on one, even like when you do like when I do pop ups and stuff, like I still like to encounter that one on one like with my customer because I feel like if you have that one on one, even like, and I even take this for an example, like even when you go to an Apple store, you're gonna have that one on one, and they're gonna
Hmm.
like try to, hey, this is a product, da, 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 da. And that's kind of like how I feel when it comes to doing one on ones with like clients or people that are interested in my product, even people that I had that didn't buy, they would come back later and buy. So you
Nice.
never know.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
you never know. So we're talking about the pop-ups and stuff. What's your lead capture on that? How do you capture leads that maybe you're not ready to buy right then?
Um, I have a three. What's the word I'm looking for? I have a three no rule. So
Okay.
you have where a person like, oh no, no, thank you. I'm like, but are you sure? This is what we're offering. This is the limited time, offer type deal. Are you sure about it? Because you keep saying, and I kind of like to, you know, are you sure? And typically that works for the most part. And like I said, even though if the three no's don't work, then it's like, okay. But like I said, even then, I've still had some customers that came back and was like, like I think I remember talking to you about that, and you still having it stock. I surely do.
I do. I got you. That's the way it
Yes.
is. That's
Hmm.
awesome. Okay, so do you if you go to a pop-up shop, do you have something where they can like where you can collect like their emails and stuff to follow up with them, or is it all just right then and there?
Oh no, so I also have a QRL. So
Okay.
they pretty much, I take their information, they take theirs, and it's all on that link. So anything that comes up with my brand, any pop-ups, anything that we do that's around the brand, they're gonna get an update from it. And that's how I also keep up with some of my inquiries as well. Like, okay, like I remember you from here, we're doing a little sale. Are you still interested? So I also do follow up sometimes, and that's also what helps too.
Okay. Awesome. So kind of walk us through a normal week in the life of you for your
Whew.
business.
Okay. Let's see. So Mondays are typically like, all right, what's the plan for the week? I normally do promos. I push them out. Like that's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning, or every morning. On top of that, if I have any sales or any purchases that I need to kind of pack up and ship, I kind of do that in the morning too. Kind of get that out the way. Then following, like in the afternoon, I typically kind of chat it up with my ambassadors, see how they're doing, if they need any help. I also do like little giveaways and promos too. So that kind of, puts the excitement into, Zay's image. Um Kind of see where that goes, if they need any assistance or any help. And then since I'm doing my summer collection, so I put most of my focus into that, and branding, packaging, making sure everything's straight, looking at pre-orders right now because I'm starting to get those. So that's kind of like how it is for me for the week.
Okay. Is that all done in like one day, or is it spread out throughout the week?
Oh no, it's spread out throughout the week.
Well, I was about to say that's a lot to do in one day, but
No, it's spread out
okay.
throughout the week, because if I had to do that on one day, I'm like, all right, something's got to give.
Yeah, something's got to give, or just drink more caffeine. That's what I tell people.
Red Bull.
Yeah, there you go. No, so what do you feel like you're spending the most time doing in your business?
I think the most time that I really do spend is kind of the editing behind the scenes and like the promo part. That's definitely where I kind of put most of my focus in, because I'm very creative. So when I
Mhm.
see that vision, like that's something that I have to do like right then and there. Like I can't wait on it. So and then it's also kind of hard when you don't have the time, but you want to give it to somebody, but it's like, no, like I have to do it myself because I see it a certain way, and then like maybe that person doesn't see it the way that I see it. So it's also it gets a little frustrating, but that's pretty much where my time kind of relies on, is like behind the scenes with marketing and creating like that image.
Are you like recording the content and then cutting it up individually, or and then also, editing long form videos and stuff like that? That's kind of what's taking up most of your time?
Hmm. I pretty much do all of that.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Do you automate any of that? That's a big question a lot of people always ask. Is like they're always looking at automating things. Is there Do you automate like cutting up some of the clips, or do you individually cut up the clips, figure out the best spots?
I mean, all footage is good footage to me. So I just kind of cut it up, and then depending on, let's say if I'm doing like a preview for a summer collection, like I just dropped one earlier today, and I just took that little piece out of that whole like 30-minute clip, and I just used that for like content, and it like kind of get them learned, and like, okay, like, oh, this is what she's dropping this week. So that's one thing I'll do. Sometimes I'll do long form depending on like if I'm doing a packaging or like a day in a life type thing. Like I won't cut anything out. It'll just be like raw 30-minute like clip, you know. But for the most part, if I'm doing like a little like promo or like kind of a little peek or something like that, then I'll just kind of chop it up and take like the best pieces, put them out, and then I'll just save the rest, because I used to delete it, and I'm like, you never know when you need those, so I always keep it.
There you go. So, a little quick thing before we get into the bottleneck side of the whole business. 'Cause there's always bottlenecks that, like, once we can uncork those, they can grow tremendously.
Mhm.
Um, but have you ever heard of Opus Clip for videos?
I think I have.
So I use Opus Clip a lot too, and it works really well. Now I'm not saying every video is good video when it comes through it, but
Mhm.
essentially you can upload a video or you can, pull it from YouTube, and it will actually give you clips. It will actually cut up the content for you. Uh,
Okay.
yep. So about a 30-minute video, it can give you anywhere from 15 to 20 clips, and they're all anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute long, minute and a
Oh
half.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So that might be something to look into. Now you do have to pay yearly for it. I think it's like $250 a year, but it
Mhm.
saves so much time, and you can schedule them directly through the system.
Mhm.
So like I have it with Facebook and YouTube where if I cut up a video, I can just schedule them out directly from there. So
Okay.
yep, you can add the captions and all of that. It automatically adds them for you if you want. You can also have it add automatic B-roll and stuff too.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so that might save you some time right there. That might be a
Yeah.
huge help. See, I'm done. I did my job. I'm out. I'm just kidding. No, but that honestly, that's actually a really good software to use. I recommend it. Or another software just like it. It is, they advertise it as AI. It's essentially just going through and finding some of the best clips.
Mhm.
So it's worth every penny, I promise. I don't try to advertise a lot of stuff, but that is definitely one that I'm like, this is a savior on everything. So definitely
Okay.
check it out. I'll send you a link for it later on too.
Okay.
But yeah, so let's take a little bit step back. Let's look at the actual business structure, the business side, so we can understand kind of where things are being held back a little bit and try to identify those so we can move forward, right?
Mhm.
Um, what would you listed the biggest frustration that you have right now is getting more clientele, right? That's what you
Mhm.
mentioned on the onboarding form. Do you believe that the issue is actually getting customers, or do you think it's more consistency in marketing and business system?
I would say more so consistency.
Okay. What
Yeah.
do you mean by consistency? Because you've mentioned it a couple of times throughout the form overall.
I would say for like take for an example, this is kind of like my downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really. I still have like my original product and content, but I'm more so focused on okay, I have to prep for my summer collection. I have this amount of time. I have to make sure this is right. I have to make sure the photo shoots are good. I have to make sure the product, the everything. So that's where I'm more so focused on versus okay, well, you still have an OG collection, you still have to kind of promote and maintain, but I'm more so focused on okay, I have like 30 days left. I got to get this straight.
I
So,
gotta move.
yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that it's more like the consistency side would be more like for the content then to get that out there for like the OG stuff and all of that?
Yeah, I would say more so for the content.
Okay. You also mentioned that you feel overwhelmed when things aren't aligned. Like you just gave a good example, 30 days out, you're running around 500 miles an hour, which I get it. I do that too when we do launches and stuff with certain things.
Hmm.
Um, but what does aligned mean to you? What is it? When do you feel like everything's aligned, it's going good? What does that mean to you?
So how it means to me is when I have everything that I'm more of a hands-on and I will write everything out and I want pretty much everything to look right. For an example, like with the lineup, the product lineup. Okay, well, I want to make sure that, my product detail looks good. I want to make sure that, the shoots look good. I want to make sure that the actual product itself, is good as well because one thing about, my company, I don't release anything until it's verified through me and I like it. So that is one thing I take very much pride in. So if that's not aligned, then it's kind of like everything else just kind of downplays and just falls to pieces. It's like okay, like I can't, and then I kind of not focus on the rest of what's on that list because I'm like okay, this one thing, this one error is not perfect, and I need to fix that before I go to anything else.
That makes sense. That's how I am sometimes too. It gets wild, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
Yes, and I'm just like
you're like,
I'm done.
absolutely. So, do you currently operate with like a weekly schedule, or is it just kind of Mondays, I look at what I have to do that week and I just kind of run with it.
So I run off of a weekly schedule. Typically, Mondays through Thursdays, Fridays if needed. Weekends are kind of like more of like my pop ups, or if I'm doing like interviews and stuff like that, because I don't like for it all to intertwine unless if it's okay. Like I have a chill week, then that's fine. But if it's like something the whole week, and like I know I don't have time, I like to keep that structure, because then also, it not only helps with my functionality, it also helps with the brand functionality, so I can keep that in line, and then everything else too.
Okay. Do you have set days that you do marketing content, or is it just when you think of it right then?
It varies because it can be both. So
Okay.
sometimes I may have like today is okay. I'm just gonna put out Wednesdays is strictly just for like the promo for the summer collection, and then Thursday I may go on to something else because like I said, I just don't like everything to kind of intertwine, and then I'm like so
Yep.
so yeah, it could be that way, or then sometimes like what, I think I should run a sale. All right, and that could be on a random Tuesday or Friday or Sunday. So and then I kind of just plan that out, and then I just kind of push it for the week, and then there you go.
Alrighty. Um, do you have any KPIs, specific KPIs that you track every week? Like anything like, hey, if we don't meet these certain sales numbers or anything like that?
The only time I typically, and this is kind of funny because I say this a lot, and a lot of people are like, what? When I go into KPIs, I only kind of look at that for summer and winter collections. That is it.
Okay.
When it comes to like the general collection, not as much, because there's multiple ways how to push that out, but
Yep.
I'm especially when it comes to like my summer and my winter collections, that is what I mostly focus on. Like I set my goal pretty high. Like if I don't sell like 5,000 units in like the first 2 weeks, what is wrong? There's something wrong.
Yep.
So that's how I kind of vary it, and then if we hit 5,000, all right, 10,000 units. So that's when it comes to, especially with my ambassadors, I kind of tell them like, hey, I have a set goal and a set number, and we not a must, like we have to execute that.
Right. Yep. No, that's perfectly fine. I mean, every business has certain KPIs that they focus more on than they do everything else. There's certain things that can kind of run on autopilot, and that's not necessarily autopilot per se, but like you don't have to worry about as much, right? And
Yeah.
that's one of the big things. And that's okay. If your summer or winter ones are the ones that you're like, I have to make these certain numbers, and those are the ones that you really want to put that time into, right?
Mhm.
So here's a really good question for you. Do you feel like you're running the business, or do you feel like the business is running you?
Oh, I'm running the business.
You're running the business? So
Yes.
if you stepped away for 30 days, do you think the business would be able to run?
With my structure, yeah. We
Okay.
may have we may have a couple of hiccups, nothing too crazy or out there bizarre, but I feel like if I stepped away for 30 days, like yeah, it would still, I would come back and it would still be together.
Okay. Do you think it'd be growing, or do you think it'd just be stagnant?
Oh, I would say it would be growing.
Okay, awesome. I mean, that's good to hear. It's a question I like to ask because some people are like, "Yeah, it will," and then dive deeper into it and they realize that they're the one making everything run. So
Yeah.
it's a big struggle.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any SOPs or anything that you hand out to people to like when they come on to your team, like your ambassadors or anything like that? Of hey, this is step 1 through 10 of what you have to do.
So with my ambassadors, especially if they're new, I typically I do a welcome packet. So
Okay.
everything within that welcome packet, it kind of shows you demonstrations of what tags to use, what for example for posts and videos, captions, all of that. And then sometimes I'll do every 2 weeks out of the month. We'll just go ahead and kind of like do a little touch up, a little refresher. Like, okay, guys, like for example, like you guys know my summer collection is coming out, so this is kind of how I want you guys to maneuver and how to run, your promos or your editing or however. Because there's some females I have on my team, like they didn't know nothing about videography, they didn't know how to put a video together, like none of that. So they were kind of just starting from like the ground up, and I pretty much taught them with the packet and doing our two biweekly courses, like, hey, this is kind of how you do it, and they do wonders. So I'm very proud of them.
Awesome. I mean, that's good because a lot of people, when they bring on like influencers or ambassadors, they're like, "Hey, they're an ambassador. Good luck," just kind of
Hmm.
put them off to the wolves, and
Yeah.
yeah, that can be fun sometimes. But
And then it's like, they don't. I typically, and that's another thing, like with my ambassador program, like I like to have a mixture of everyone. I don't
Mhm,
like to just have like, okay, yeah, they have a high following and a high like count. I want to kind of give everybody that experience because there's some good females or some good ambassadors that know what they're doing.
mhm,
And if they know what they're doing and they have that niche and they have that clientele and they have that audience, go forth and prosper. I have makeup
yeah,
artists. I even have people who are just work from home moms. Like I have a lot. Like I have a variety of an ambassador group. So, and that is one thing that I actually like to include. Like it's not just for the high influencers and this that, and third. No, this is for everybody.
awesome. Is it all just women, or is it women and men, or is it a mixture, or is
It's a
it,
mixture
or
actually.
okay? So is your demographic more women based then? I
Yes.
would assume that it would be.
Yes.
Um, I can't really assume too much these days, but I always
Yeah.
just double check.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
but no, and that's perfectly fine. That's good that you know your demographic. I've talked to some people that they sell similar products, and they're like, "Yeah, I sell to anybody that walks in," and it's like, well, a man's not gonna. I'm not gonna go buy makeup for my wife because it may be not something that she likes. I don't know,
Yeah.
So it's a good idea that you know your target audience. So let me ask you this before we get into the actual 30-day plan, because asking these questions, it's kind of uncovered some things that I'd like to point out and get your opinion on as well. But I like to ask this question before we dive into that. If you could only fix one thing in the next 30 days, what would it be?
Hmm.
Big, I told you there's going to be some big questions that come out.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, what would it be?
If
If
you
I
could
had to change
strip
anything,
everything away and there's just one thing that you're like, all right, if this can be fixed, my business is going to go to the next stage.
I would probably say marketing, pushing
Okay.
on marketing.
Okay.
That would be something that I would actually like to focus on more.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. I mean, that's pretty common just because marketing is tons of different things, right? Um,
Hmm.
I read this book one time. I thought it was funny. It said all marketers are liars because they're trying to convince people to buy their stuff. And I'm like, it kind of makes sense, but
Yeah.
well, not quite that blunt, but
Hey,
but
well, with
so
Zay's Image, it's all organic. So what you see
there
is
you
what you
go.
get.
Yeah, you don't have to lie to them, but it does
Mhm.
take a little finesse sometimes to possibly convince them to try it. And then you let
Mhm.
the product speak for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So some of the things I like to try to be as blunt as possible. I'm not by all means trying to say, hey, your business is terrible or anything like that. It's just
Mhm.
some of the stuff I've seen that hopefully maybe you've seen or maybe you haven't quite seen. And those are some of the things that, maybe you could work on to get to that next level, right?
Okay.
One of the big things that kind of stood out to me is maybe a little bit more structure, kind of like time blocking your days so you can really focus in and dial in on some of that marketing. Because if you're more or less just kind of, oh, I got to do this sale, or hey, I should do this sale, or hey, I should shoot this content. You're pulling your bandwidth away from some of the other important things sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that would be the first thing that I really would I always try to focus on the structure first, because if you can fix the structure, everything else goes in place. And you have a really solid structure, but there are some things, especially when it comes to marketing and content. What I tell people a lot is you really want to focus on that time blocking. And what I mean by that is, like, if you know that you're more creative in the morning, section off that time where you're not taking calls, you're not taking any other, your sales or anything like that. It's just purely for that content creation.
Mhm.
because that's where your content's going to be the strongest. That's where it's going to be the most effective. And then you can schedule it out at another day. Like when you shoot videos, do you normally shoot videos and then cut them up right away, or do you normally like shoot them and then come back to them eventually?
It depends.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll edit them, cut it out, or sometimes I'll look and see what I want to take from that. I sometimes I also do scheduling. So if I feel like yeah that day is I gotta work, then I'll just work on it that night and then just kind of schedule all the rest of the posts for the week.
Okay. So, and that's one thing that I highly recommend a lot of the times is when if you record content, wait 24 hours before you cut it up or start editing it, because then you can come back with a fresh mindset. Because if you're like me or like 100 other people, that same thing, you record content, you've probably shot it once or twice or redone it a couple of times, and then you start getting a little frustrated, or you think, I could have done it better, and you start getting in your head a little bit. I've done that multiple times. I do that on a daily basis. So I've started to get to the point to where I always tell people, if you shoot content, I shoot it today, start editing it tomorrow, because then you come back with a fresh mindset with it, and it really helps you identify, maybe some better content that's inside of it than what you would have thought of, the other day. But what I would highly suggest is for the first week is really all about building structure, creating a weekly operating schedule that you can really time block certain things. Because if you mention marketing is that one thing you really want to focus on, marketing, you've done some marketing, but it's just like everything else. You have to have specific times to really focus on it because it is a huge monumental task, right? One thing I would recommend is highlighting your ambassadors more. Highlight, helping share their content maybe and really showing it off. Do they have their own like personal pages or business pages that they use, or is it
Yeah, so
um
typically on my business page, I
mhm.
kind of put them out there and kind of like, hey, like, this is our new ambassador, such and such. Or, they kind of send me their videos or I'll kind of repost it on the page as well. So, like, it shows them.
Okay. Do you do educational videos at all or anything like that?
Sometimes I do. When it comes to like the product or how to use the product, because some people they don't know how to use the product, so we
Mhm.
kind of showed that. Also like the pros of why to buy the product, why it has these hydration, oils or whatever product that we're showing. It's like the pros of what it is and why.
Okay. Um, have you ever heard like your overall goal is to get more customers through the marketing? Have you ever heard of something called a Dream 100?
I think I have.
So I didn't create the term, I promise. It's other marketers have created it, but essentially, what we should build is a spreadsheet, essentially a running spreadsheet of all the top people in your industry and other people. So like you have your ambassadors on there, you have, maybe some of the top stores that you want to get into. So you have this running spreadsheet, and what you're doing is you're creating track of those, and every week you're going in there, you're following them on social media, you're spreading some of your knowledge onto their pages, because the goal with that is to build up the trust with them. And then after a couple weeks, you're reaching out to them trying to see if maybe they want to try some of your products, maybe they're looking for more products to put into their stores. You're building those connections organically because your organic is really strong, and I think building a Dream 100 would be hugely beneficial for you.
Yeah.
Creating that running list of who do you really want to target with those. If it's, getting inside Walmart or maybe something, a specialty store, it's creating those connections, finding out who those are that you need to talk to. And having them on that sheet, because if you don't have them on a sheet and you have them in your head, if you're like me, you'll forget probably in about 2 weeks and totally forget about it.
Mhm.
But that's something I can send you a template for one, part of the whole 30-day plan if you want. So this way you can kind of see how it plays out. But if you start with trying to build that out and getting those people on there, you can start to see where maybe there's other people that you thought of, or maybe there's more people that you run across that you can put those on. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, And then the other thing that I would really focus on, especially the first week, is really time blocking certain things. So, certain things of, if you look at like Monday, what is the one big thing that you have to accomplish that day and blocking that off right away. So, this way, it's just kind of like when we were in the military, right? We always have to do some of the hardest things first just to get them out of the way. And that's what I always recommend because even if the rest of the day goes to crap, you still accomplish that one big task that you had to do that day no matter what.
Hmm.
So this way you're not trying to figure out, okay, do I have sales coming in? Do I have this coming in? Do I have this? It's creating that mental reset and that mental strategy inside your head every single week. So this way you know exactly what you have to do that is non-negotiable, and that's going to help clear out so much bandwidth in your mind so you can focus on creating more content.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'd focus on the first week is all that structure. Really trying to take a look at that. We map that out, and I'll help you build that out. Like I said, that's part of that 30-day plan. I'll build some of it out. I'll send it over to you. Get your opinion. We'll build it back and forth, and then once it's done, you'll have a full copy of it. But week two is really identifying that content. That's where your content strategy comes into play massively. And for you, what I would really focus on is your 3 to 5 kind of pillars of what you want to highlight on your social media. And you can highlight the same things on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all of that. But just remember, TikTok likes shorts more than it likes long videos, and the algorithms play different games.
Hmm.
But I would sit down and I would focus, okay, what are the 3 to 5 big things that we really want our customers to know for either this upcoming week or the next 2 weeks? If it's your summer launch that you're getting ready for, your content pillars could be focused around that. And when I mean content pillars, you have one that talks about your products, maybe another one that's talking about past launches that you've had that's, past customers that have gotten feel like they feel way better with it. And maybe some ambassadors talking about it as well, and really leveraging that ambassador content as much as possible. One thing I would also do in week two is taking the time to create a content template for your ambassadors. I think that would help out quite a bit if
Hmm.
you have a content template that they can use, because you mentioned that some of them don't know marketing very well, especially if you have those 600 that you have to go through. Having those templates now, so this way when they come on you can add it as part of your welcome package, so they can use it and they can be right out of the gate, because you mentioned that you use Canva, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would create those in zip form, so this way as soon as you get more ambassadors on, just send those out to them, and
Hmm.
just this way they just have to upload pictures or whatever in the Canva and send it out, so it all looks the same. Because you don't because the biggest issue with ambassadors, I'm not saying yours, but a lot of ambassadors, is they'll show off the content this way versus what you're expecting. And if you can create the templates out of the gate, then you know that it's at least 90% as good as what you would put out.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And just remember, consistency over perfection. I get the whole perfection thing and I get it. It's one of the hardest things that as business owners, it's hard for us to, look at that and be like, it's not quite right. But if you can get them to 90%, you're going to see more increased sales through your ambassador program. And I think that's where a lot of your sales are going to come from, and be able to reach your retirement goal. Because the more ambassadors you have, the more money that increases on their end, right? And your end.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about those first 2 weeks?
No.
Okay. Do you think both of those are pretty doable overall?
Yeah,
It's not
for sure.
super crazy. We're not trying to change the whole business. I don't want to change your business by all means. It's just the small tweaks here and there that I think can really push you in that next direction, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So week 3 is where we really want to focus on the customer growth. Do you have a referral strategy?
So I usually, which I had to change it here recently, but
Okay.
my referral strategy was okay. Like if you refer to a friend, you get like 20% off. We also did a buy one get one 50% off. I do that during the holidays for sure. So that also kind of brings in more like clientele and customers.
Okay. And this is where I like to dive into because this is what I like to learn more about. Your customer follow-up process. You mentioned that you collect some of their contact information when you talk to them at like pop-up events. How often do you follow up with them right now? If let's say I go to an event Saturday, I scan the QR code, I give you my information, I don't
Mhm.
buy anything right then. What's that follow-up process look like?
I would say about 30 to 60 days.
So you follow up 30 days afterwards?
Hmm.
Okay. Why do you wait so long to follow up with them? Just out of curiosity.
Just kind of, I don't, what's the word? Trying to find the word. But for me, it's kind of like to give like the customer kind of more of a, like I said, I have a system of the three no's. So
Mm-hmm.
if three no's didn't work, then I'm like, okay, kind of give them more time to, um, I cannot think of the word I'm looking for. Um,
Kind of think
but
about it and let it sit there.
yeah, like try to to have a kind of like sit and think, okay, like this is like what I want, this is what I do, and then come through, be like, hey, I remember you from this pop up that I had on Saturday. We're still doing our sale. Are you still interested? And then kind of go from there, or like I said, do like a little follow up, like, hey, like I remember this on the third, we still have those products and it's on sale currently. Are you still interested in purchasing? Da 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 da. So that's how I kind of go about it.
Okay. And if they don't respond after the first 30 to 60 days, do you continue to follow up with them or
No,
no? Why
no.
not? Just out of
Cause
curiosity.
so my theory is like I said, when you want something, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna get it. So I don't like to be like one of those, you know, entrepreneurs or like the business people like, hey, you're still gonna buy because I probably have 30 other people in line that want to buy the same exact product. So
Hmm.
I really don't kind of, you know, go back to that. Like I said, my three no's didn't work, and me replying, reaching out saying, hey, doing a little update that didn't work, so I go on to the next person.
When you follow up with them, are you giving them a call or are you shooting them an email or doing both?
Email and text.
Okay. What I would recommend, and are you manually emailing these or are you putting them in like
No,
something like MailChimp or something like that?
no, it's all like a template and send it out, and there you go.
Okay. So what I would recommend, do you use something like MailChimp or anything like that for like email marketing campaigns?
Beacons. I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
I use
things
them.
like that. So MailChimp is just kind of the top dog and the whole thing. A lot of people know 'em. Where you can build out like email campaigns where it's like, hey, send an email on this day, wait so often, then send out another one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use any system like that?
Beacons.
Okay. So what I would recommend maybe trying instead of if I go and sign up, Saturday, for instance, and then wait, if you're waiting 30 days, you still do those follow ups in 30 days. But what I would try to do, at least in between then, because your goal is you want to try to stay top of mind awareness. And you don't have to sit there and say, hey, I seen you here, still looking to see if you're interested. That you could save that for the 30 or the 60-day mark. But in between then, I would set up like scheduled emails of, maybe just talking about the benefits of your products, talking about different products and putting those in there. So you're kind of warming them up, keeping them the top of your mind. Because if you do that, you'll start seeing a more increase in people that are looking to buy because you're staying on that top of the mind awareness, and that's going to be a
Yeah.
big key in your marketing. Have you seen how many people actually open the emails or unsubscribe or anything like that?
I check through those like once every 60 days to kind of see my analytics.
Okay.
I would say not many people unsubscribe.
Okay.
But I do have more like so I also have the analytics where people buy from that link that I
Yep.
put on there as well. So I have more clicks on that, or I see people open it, or through text as well, because I said I do have a manual text system, so
Okay.
I also see that.
Okay. So what I would recommend is in between that time that you meet with them in the 30-day period, maybe come up with two more emails that you can send out, within a 2-week time frame. Not trying to sell, but just trying to educate them more.
Mhm.
So this way you can stay on the top of the mind, and I can help you come up with those and kind of tweak those a little bit if you want. I always recommend you guys do that more because you know your business better than I would. But that's what I would recommend because you'll see more people opening them, and you're trying to build that trust in between now and when the next time you're asking for the sale. Because every
Mhm.
time you ask for that sale, it's tearing down that trust wall, and you want to try to keep that trust as high as possible.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I would focus on in week 3 is really focusing on maybe looking at more email follow-ups, creating those trust campaigns with those, creating those customer spotlight content as well. So if someone has, used some of your products, maybe you can get some recordings of them, video recordings of reviews, like video testimonials would be huge, I think,
Mhm.
in your space as well. And then
Yeah. I actually
how
have
many?
some of those.
Oh, you do? Awesome.
Mhm.
Have you put them on any social or anything like that?
They're all on my business page.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
I would even throw them up on social every now and then too, and just
Yeah.
so people can see them and build out that trust. And
Mhm.
then obviously collecting testimonials is huge in every space. But how often do you reconnect with past customers that maybe bought previously and then just kind of fallen off?
I do a touch up. Like, let's say for example, I look at their customer history, or I mean their purchase history, and that's like, okay,
Okay.
well, I'm purchased in a couple months, or longer than 90 days. So I'm like, okay, like, hey, we're doing the sale. Put out something. Boom.
Okay. Are you just doing it like kind of like a one touch point, or is it just
Uh,
every now and then you think about it?
and more so, like I said, it varies. Whenever I look at my analytics, I'm like, okay, well, let me see. Well, like this person hit, okay, this and the third, and then like I go from there.
Okay. So what I would recommend is if you have money to spare, this is where kind of paid ads come into play sometimes, is you can set up a retargeting campaign on Facebook. I don't know if you've ever heard about those, where you can actually upload the list of past clients and kind of create a re-engagement campaign through Facebook. I think you can do it with TikTok and stuff too. And you can
Mhm.
spend maybe $1 or $2 a day to stay in front of them. Think of it as like an online billboard. And if you, like I said, if you have the money to spare, I would highly recommend doing it, especially in your industry. You'd be surprised at how many people just honestly forgot about either buying more or life got in the way for a little bit and now they're ready to go again. And maybe they just forgot what the name was or something like that. And those retargeting campaigns would be really good to kind of stay in front of them overall.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing any of those by chance before?
When I normally I do ads, it's more so like on Instagram or TikTok. I haven't really kind of dived into Facebook yet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when you run ads, it runs it on Instagram as well. So you still have to go through the Meta Business Suite. You can do it on
Mhm.
TikTok as well. Um, but I would look at trying to upload your list in there so this way it stays in front of them. Even the people that maybe haven't bought yet, you can kind of create another one. And I, especially if you're trying to grow more outside the country, you're going to want to look at some of that.
Mhm.
Just be mindful if you start running ads outside the country. There's certain regulations with like the European Union and all of that fun stuff. Those get kind of crazy, but you can really dive deep into that, and you can really get more revenue coming from that if you look at those retargeting campaigns, for sure.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll go in that 30-day plan. I'll show you some stuff on there that you can that if you're interested, you can look at doing those. But that's just kind of like if you have the money to spare, I highly recommend doing it.
Okay.
And then week 4 is all about just the scaling and optimizing. What I always recommend in week 4 is kind of taking a look back at what you've done in the last couple weeks, figuring out where you can kind of remove some unnecessary tasks, maybe turn those more into templates, and double down on what's working. Maybe you did the 30-day follow-ups and those exploded your sales. Well, now you'll know that you have to, double down on those as well. Because the goal with week 4 is just building the momentum instead of adding more and more things, especially with your launch and stuff coming up.
Yeah.
the big thing, you don't want to add complexity into anything else that you're already doing. You already have 100 things that you're doing. So it's really just trying to focus on those couple of things that you're doing that are going to move that needle. And really reviewing those metrics and identifying the top performing content. Because if you're really focusing on the organic, the top performing content is going to play a major role in how you structure some content moving forward as well. Have you ever
Yeah.
looked at some of your top performing content before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
I know I just asked because some people are like, I've never looked at any of the statistics. I just throw things out there on social media. I'm like, you should look at it. But
Yeah.
and your top performing products. What is your top performing product? Do you know?
So the top three top performing products would be my hydration lip oils, my
Okay.
Mega 3D lashes, and my lip kits.
Okay. So, and that will go back to week two with the content. I would structure some content, or more content around those top three products as well,
Hmm.
uh, more than all the other products. Because if those are the ones that are selling more, I would focus a lot more effort on those because that's where a lot of your money is going to be made as well.
Yeah.
Creating those templates so you can hand them to your ambassadors. I think that's going to be the biggest key for you is being able to create some of those templates for your ambassadors
Mhm.
because you got a whole team you got to manage now. But yeah, so like I said, week one is that Dream 100, trying to build that influencer list and building out that content, blocks and really focusing on creating that content. And then week two, I'm just looking at my notes because I'll forget if I don't have them written down. um, but
Mhm.
week two is really building out those templates and stuff and really identifying those 3 to 5 pillars of content.
Mhm.
And week three is trying to re-engage past clients or maybe even coming up with some of those bi-weekly either a newsletter or emails that you can just stay on top of mind without trying to sell your products, just keeping them informed of what's going on. And then week four is just trying to double down on some of those metrics of what's working and what's not. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah.
Awesome. So you also listed that you're getting ready to go outside. You've gotten some ambassadors and stuff in other countries, right? Um,
Yes.
what does success look like 3 years from now?
Success for me would be definitely more abroad out of the country. So not only would we be stationed in the US, but we also have in Japan, Thailand, all around. I would like to be in more stores and get more visibility.
Okay. So here's a big question that a lot of people don't think about. What kind of legacy do you want your business to leave?
So that's actually a good question. So a lot of people don't know the slogan or the trade line for Zay's Image is "I am just an image," which means you create your own image of how you want to look, how you want to be, how you want other people to see you, how you want to see yourself. So, my legacy with Zay's Image is, I created that around who I want to be, who I am, and who I've evolved in throughout my lifetime. And I think that's, a goal to even perceive later on, even though I've kind of built that, but to make it more um evolved than what it already is. So like, hey, I remember she built that, that was her image and that was her dream, and it's came a long way.
That's awesome. That's a great legacy to have for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've already built something so far that a lot of entrepreneurs never even achieve. I mean, 78% of small businesses fail. So, and I'm not saying that to scare you because you've done way more than most people have achieved, and that's awesome. And now I think the focus really, you got to start looking at more systems so you can focus on growing your brand. Because if you get those 600 brand ambassadors on, you're not going to have time to talk with every single one of them. It's going to be a
Mhm.
lot of effort. So if you focus on
Yeah.
building some of those systems, those templates, those that type of stuff, it's going to go a lot further, and you're going to be able to optimize that business so you can retire when you hit your 30s for sure.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for me?
No.
No? Awesome. What do you feel like you got at least something out of this?
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely did, especially with the Dream 100. I think that would be a really good idea to implement what I'm already doing.
Awesome. Well, so the last two questions I have is what is one question what is one piece of advice you can share with other business owners that are either looking at starting or are already starting their business and maybe struggling a little bit?
Um, Three pieces I would actually give would be number one is don't quit. Whether how hard it was. When I started Zayez Image, I was working 70 plus hours. I was in school and I was running a business. So, finals be hitting in midterms during the holidays. And then you have all these orders and you're in charge of a whole platoon. I'm like, I don't think I'm ever like gonna manage and get. Maybe I need to put this to the side. Like there was days where I'm like, I think I need to put this aside, but I was like, I can't. I'm getting more visibility. I'm getting more sales, and if I stop here, then where else am I gonna go? So even through like those struggles and those times where you're staying up 2, 3 in the morning and you're just like, oh, I just want to give up. Like, don't do it. Just keep going. Learn what you're selling. Learn your product. Have a plan. Even if you have to go through 2 and 3 other people, that are ahead of the game. Like I have been around so many mentors. I've been around so many investors who were in like making 2, 3 million, and I'm just like, I want to be like you. So here's my plan. What am I doing wrong? Never, be scared to take criticism because good criticism can make it to where you're bigger and better than what you were yesterday. So I always take that, and if you're struggling, just kind of sit down, break out, the pros and the cons of your business, because not every business is just great in rainbows. There's always going to be some cons. There's always going to be some trips and some falls. Like when I first started out, yeah, I had sold out, but there's points and pivots where I only made $200. I made $50. So don't let those things kind of just make you feel like that's it, and that's the end of the world. That's just a part of business, and you just gotta upscale and be better.
Absolutely. And the last question I have is, where can people find and support you online?
So all my social medias, it's for my OG page, Zay Alex, ZayethiAlex, and then my business page, Zayez Image, which is all platforms, Zayezimage.
Awesome. So, is there anything else you want to leave the audience with, or are you good for now?
Well, like I had said earlier, though, you guys make sure that you guys are keeping up with my summer collection, Blazing, which is coming July 2nd of 2026. So be on the lookout, you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, sharing your story and your business journey. It was awesome to hear about it. I love hearing about all these different businesses, and I love seeing how I can help them out. Like I said, here at Scale Labs, our job is just to help you guys out as best we can. We don't know everything, and sometimes it doesn't work out the way that we hope that it does, but we try to help you guys out any way we can. Kind of like what you said, sometimes you just need another opinion on certain parts of your business, and that's the whole point of it. So, if we can help someone else out, that's all that matters. The last question I have for you is, once we're done with your 30-day plan, are you okay with us putting it out there for other people to potentially look at it and see if maybe it'll help them out as well?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I'm gonna hit stop real quick. It's going to upload